So, technically, I guess I'll just start off with how I think you went for Precise. I think technically, there's some things I'm very proud that we got done for Precise. I say we collectively, I mean it was mostly me, but I don't want to get all the credit because there were certainly ideas and stuff thrown around from other people. Very proud of what we got done in Precise. The vast majority of things I set out to do at the beginning of the cycle, we got achieved. These were things like actually getting all the indicators with all the default indicators with these textual accessible descriptions. Most part they're all very, very useful. The other big thing was actually being able to navigate the network menu and find out just how strong that wireless network is that you want to connect to. That was a bit of fun times and broke a few things on the way, but we got there, and no other accessible desktop offers that yet. So I kind of feel, really pleased to have got that done. Other things that didn't go so well, we still didn't end up offering a magnifier profile due to complications with the way you've got to launch compares against different profiles, and the fact that the compares still use the gconf. That was really the biggest disappointment, and there's just other little things that we missed, like the little race condition with the password and Unity reader. That's probably still fixable, just got to work out what the problem is there. But overall, technically, for the usability, I'm very happy with Precise. Those of you who know about the Linux flavor, the Linux project, we're gearing up to make a release based on Precise with further fixes included, because we can. We're not so tightly bound by the Ubuntu release process in terms of accessibility. So I think at this point, when that comes out, we'll be recommending users publicly use that screen reader use, mainly because we'll be able to keep them updated to more easily with awkward fixes and the like for Thunderbird and Firefox, because as you know, Firefox and Thunderbird will keep on getting updated. However, there may be less grounds for keeping up awkward updated in the actual Precise release because of the basic changes that get made that can't necessarily be SRU. So, but I guess onto what we're really here to talk about, which is the community. I guess firstly, I better outline what the plan is for Quantal. Technical wise, I don't really have any big plans. Through this last cycle, I've sort of found little things that were broken, both in our own stuff and upstream. I just want to fix things, and particularly with Unity 2D likely going away, or at least development being discontinued. We need to get Unity 3D up to snuff. So I think I'll find myself spending the vast majority of my time on that. Luckily, we've got a good base to go on, thanks to Alejandro from Galia. The code's there, it's just not all working properly. A couple of UI elements haven't been implemented, but I feel I've learned heaps about accessibility architecture in the last year, purely from a coding point of view and how it actually works. So I feel quite confident that I can get that implemented. My goal is not to have it all working by the LTE, by 12.10. I'm of the opinion, and this is something we can talk about from a community point of view too, I'm of the opinion we should work to start planning based on what we want for the next LTS. In that we start planning over the next 2 years, 3 cycles, what we want to get done, and have it sort of all ready to go for the LTS so it can be tested to hell and back and make sure it's absolutely rock solid. I'm trying to not push, but I'm going to try and encourage users to do that, although they won't necessarily be compliant. They'll always be complaining about things not working. That's their problem. I guess, we had a few things, community-wise planned that didn't end up going through. So I guess, does anyone else want to talk about personas or whatever? I sort of started a community, like I was in it, but out since I was busy.
I mean, this turned into being a pretty rough cycle because we had one person just kind of disappear for health reasons.
Yeah.
I've been having to cut back for my own health reasons. And there are about 4 of us that are the core team, so that's half the core team right there.
Yeah.
We have all except one persona done, I believe, at this point.
Um,
All except for the deaf one, which I have a bunch of research done, I just haven't
yeah.
put together. And
So,
then I did a bunch of prep work for doing usability testing. I didn't get a chance to actually do any. I honestly don't know at this point with my health whether it's even feasible.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I've got the prep work, so if somebody else wants to take that and look at it and see if they can find the people to do the actual testing, I'm happy to pass that on. Excuse me. And we basically got behind because just different people not being able to do stuff blocked other things happening.
Yeah, life does get in the way, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. One thing I'm letting people know now, I'm cutting back to pretty much doing administrative stuff as of this cycle. I'll do meetings, I'll, try to keep other people on track. I just physically cannot manage to add much more than that into my life right now. What my opinion is that I've been doing this, I guess, 2 years now, and my opinion is that what we need to do is we've been trying to do everything, and we need to cut back and focus on one or two things for the next 6 months. Personally, I think one of them is recruitment.
Yeah.
Because, we've got Luke doing development, we've got maybe 3 of us doing community stuff, and that's just not enough people on anywhere. So that's something people have ideas about, best way, because I know this past cycle we looked into doing bite-sized bugs and then looked at it and realized that there aren't really good bite-sized bugs for most accessibility things.
It appears to be bite-sized, but for the technical point of view, it's actually quite a lot of work to implement some things. So, yeah.
So even things that look like they're really tiny, like fixing labels, might be far more intense than that. We've been asked, although I don't know if this, I don't think of this as a huge priority, we've been asked to do a couple accessibility-related accomplishments for John O's accomplishments thing. We've also tested it, and it's mostly accessible.
I better look at that at some point.
Right?
Yeah, he's done a few things that it was useful to test it with Orca. We found he's using buttons to create something that looks like a tabbed notebook, but of course it isn't. It's just 2 buttons that flip a pane. So it behaves differently to a tabbed notebook. And yeah, well, it's interesting to have a conversation around that. We've also been.
How do they appear to Orca at the moment?
Buttons, I think.
Do they have appropriate accessible labels?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's easy enough to fix.
Yeah, and that was the thing. We had a conversation with him, and Ack got it pretty quickly about it.
Welcome to Orca. Orca screen reader frame. Preferences push button. Accomplishment information frame. Community council member icon.
Right, so I'm in what? Get over there.
Accomplishment information frame. Community council member icon.
So I'm in an icon grid.
Yeah.
Which is one tab of this fake notebook.
Grid editor icon.
Yeah, so that's working.
That's working. If I do a
Left
shift,
show locked to all combo panel.
right, so I'm now in the
Microphone is top
panel.
button not pressed.
Oh, yeah, they're labeled.
Panel.
Yeah.
Left grid editor icon. Left show on left all combo.
You can use, do you obviously, do you know that Orca has a flat review mode?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were aware of it, because in the installer you can use flat review mode to review the disk space stuff. And I'm not sure how easily it will be like to actually get that stuff spoken automatically because of the way it's displayed.
That's an interesting point. I thought I couldn't get to that when I did use flat review. I'm not sure where it is on this keyboard.
Last time it depends on whether Orca's set into desktop or laptop mode.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Plus.
Anyway,
Entering flat
let's go for this discussion. So I'll have a closer look at it. It seems to be okay-ish, but I'll have a look and see.
Yeah, it's okay-ish. It was just we had a conversation about the difference between what something looks like and the semantics of it, as far as Orca's came through. But generally, it's fairly standard GTK widgets, so it works.
Yeah.
But, so he was asking us about doing a couple of those, and we were mostly thinking of things like, if we can, but I also think writing accomplishments for Java is pretty far down on the list of priorities in our world.
Yeah,
it would be cool, but I'm not.
So we've got some comment on IRC and in the pad saying X Randy is working in the IT team. Says, I added one significant issue that we did not manage to fix in the precise cycle to the pad.
He's
participating remotely.
Ubuntu
Who's this, sir?
Summit. Q Community Q Accessibility Community Team Plant. Mozilla Firefox Frame. Accessible question quit orca quit push button. Goodbye.
Turn off that and read it out to you. So in the pad it says there's an upstream that needs help. The OpenJDK IT team found the GNOME codebase hard to debug. A lot of crashes in the GNOME screen reader support. This ended up that all Java Swing applications dropped screen reader support for the precise release.
Okay, no, it's not quite like that. What happened was we're doing work in the archive to completely demote, deprecate, and remove the legacy AtSpy stack that's based on Bonobo. One such piece of that infrastructure required that we switch from the Java Access Bridge module to the Java ATK wrapper module. That module, instead of using Bonobo via AtSpy to present Java applications, it actually wraps ATK directly. So if ever that the IPC used for accessibility was changed, as long as ATK is still around, ATK will be doing all the heavy lifting. This change was made and it worked. However, it caused other issues with other non-Swing applications, like people complain about Minecraft and stuff not running properly because accessibility support wasn't enabled, because the module was getting loaded, accessibility support was not being able to there were issues. So the module was disabled for the time being, and we need to fix that. I think that's what the problem is. Does that sound like, not sound correct, but does that sort of...
Sounds pretty exactly what's being said on
We're
Iris.
saying in the channel, accessibility in Java applications almost what worked out of the box in precise. The problems that enabling the Java ATK wrapper by default caused lots of crashes.
That's correct, lots of crashes, okay. I don't know about the crashes, I just knew about other applications having problems when you ran them and the accessibility wasn't enabled. So it seems that, unfortunately, that Java ATK wrapper has not had any activity upstream recently. And Java is pretty low on my knowledge of stuff. And it's one of the platforms I'm least concerned about. Only because I don't know much about it and I don't know anyone who's maintained the Java module. So it's a matter of man hours and resources.
So we don't
that
have...
might also be something we should be throwing upstream.
Yeah.
It sounds like as a bug too.
Yeah.
It's more of a bug with the wrapper than it
I
is
think
with
the things that I'd like to have working really well out of the box are things like the dash, the launcher, the hub, the indicators, the global menu, all of the special new crack that we've added.
Yeah.
And then applications of various toolkits.
Yeah.
Yes, it's awesome if they all work, but we want to sort of set a good example rather than setting a bad example.
Yeah.
And we've been having conversations this week with the design team to encourage them to do more testing with Orca and actually design the transcript of what Orca should say before you cut any code.
Well, the thing is, though, it's not something that someone who doesn't use a screen reader
They
can
might not
really
get it
decide.
perfect. They might not get it perfect.
Yeah.
But, if it's part of the planning process, it's planning to get.
See, a lot of the stuff that has been decided around with the Unity 2D launcher and the indicators and the accessible descriptions, I actually had a lot of input to. Like with the network, I thought, well, you want to hear, okay, what sort of network you're on. If it's wireless, what the network name is and the strength.
Yeah.
Same with the Unity 2D launcher, if an application's a running or not. With the blessing of the design team, I sort of had a hand in deciding that because I was thinking from a screen reader user, okay, I need to know the most immediate information now. What am I on? And then the screen reader should tell me any important context for that information. You know, it's the launcher, is the app running? It's an indicator. It's this indicator. What is the information that's conveying?
Yeah.
So
I have to say, as an ECTD person, that sort of feedback is really useful for us because it's so often that we don't quite think of what does a person need to know to get to the screen. So that's really good.
Yeah.
So, like, I think the Unity team will need to have a lot of feedback about this.
yeah, well, it's the stuff that's I'm going to, like as I said, I'm going to have to work on 3D. The launcher works, but I'm going to have to add. I actually started hacking on launcher application state last cycle, but then got over with other stuff. So yeah, it's so the experience needs to be the same.
So this cycle, if Unity 3D breaks, we'll scream a lot louder.
Yeah.
As soon as it.
But as I said, yes, we want to do what we can this cycle, but personally, we want to get it done. But if everything's not done, like if there's a few little bits and pieces, I'm not going to be worried again because I'm thinking about. I'm now thinking about LTS steps. We've got far too few resources to try and have things done for every cycle. So we've got to think of the bigger picture.
Can I bring up the idea of automated testing?
Do you want to come forward?
Sure.
Microphones.
Thanks for coming, by the way, Jerry.
Not at all. Like, it's something that I've always been interested in and I've wanted to help. Since something that Unity TD was very good at was accessibility support and right to left, that they were things that we should have focused on. So we tried to do everything we could to make the experience as good as we could.
Yeah.
But like one thing that you and I were suggesting was automated testing of the strings that's the launcher and the dash would pass to Orca.
Yeah.
We could intercept them and actually test them to make sure that it's been spat out correctly.
Yeah, you can get them at various stages. You can get them when they're events that Orca is looking at, or you can get it to run Orca and intercept the transcript that goes through speech dispatcher.
Something like that, because Unity ended up breaking accessibility a couple of times, and if an automated testing framework was running, that would have been covered.
Yeah. But I think, as I said, like at one point in the cycle, I just said, screw 3D, 2D's working well enough. Like resources again and time. So, and this is why I'm starting to think bigger picture, so LTS to LTS only.
Yeah. So Andy Rock has fixed Unity 3D. It's fixed that it doesn't talk properly.
Oh, okay.
And he's got a PPA with it talking. It's not making sense entirely, but it's talking.
One, where did you hear about this? And two, why don't I know about it yet? No, I'm deadly serious.
In the Hash Ubuntu accessibility channel in the last in release week, so you might have been off on other stuff. Basically, it's after Final Freeze.
Right.
People were relaxing and saying, "Hey, what should I do this week?"
Yeah. Okay.
And he was looking around for stuff to fix, and he's got a PPA.
So if someone could just pop in the URL for that PPR, I'll be more than happy to check it out.
I will do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Do that now.
Now, what about, the waiting till LTS, I think that makes sense, but what about, things like, Firefox performance, Thunderbird bugs, or updates?
Again, that's why I think Firefox is usually Firefox update policy. This is a bit out of scope of the session, but due to the update policy, Firefox will always be updated. Now, beyond...
What about the corresponding Orca update?
That's what I was just getting to that.
Right.
Beyond the few point updates that Jeremy will do for Orca, for GNOME 3.4, we will have to track 3.5 plus. So I'm thinking, depending on how much work backward it is, definitely I'll be doing that work in Linux. And that's why I'm wanting to try and get people more onto Linux, because we can do that there. And where possible, PPA for Ubuntu. Because, it'll get to a point where we're backporting at Spy and maybe other bits and pieces too. Now, just to clear everything up for people who don't know about Linux, Linux is a flavour of Ubuntu that was originally started by a fellow from the UK called Tony Sales a couple of years back. he wanted to create a version of Ubuntu just for blind people that was optimized right from the word go for blind people and visually impaired people. And originally it was a modification of the original live CD image using things like remasters. Now, I since got involved with the project a couple of years, a year or so back, I actually announced, and it still is kind of what I wanted to do, that Linux is going to be a testing ground for new functionality in Ubuntu. By that I don't mean get the dash, don't get Unity working, but I mean what other ways can we create tightly integrated experiences for the Ubuntu, for using Ubuntu, as in, try out different ideas and experiences with the installer, various applications, stuff like that. And the plan would be once that matured, then that I'd get into Ubuntu proper. But also with Linux, we've got an opportunity to be able to offer a premium experience for the life of, well, what we end up doing is supporting it for 2 years due to getting resources and then move on to the next LTS. But the idea is, because we're not using the Ubuntu archives, because we're using PDA and other packages, we've got a little more room to move in updating all relevant accessibility bits with sufficient testing to make sure that everything still works. Whereas the SRU processing of Ubuntu doesn't really allow for that. So, but anyway, that's a bit out of scope since we're on to talking about community stuff. So, but as to Linux itself, I've actually been trying to get people involved in the Linux community in Ubuntu accessibility. I've been trying really hard, but I've just dropped a few words, but nothing's really happened.
I've noticed a couple of them have been showing up more on the mailing list.
Yeah.
Which is a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done my part to encourage that as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so getting back to community, I guess we have to look at kind of two things. One, we have to look at what our priorities are. I still say that one of them has to be recruitment.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely has to be recruitment.
at this point, the person who's been doing most of our testing and bug triage and stuff, I think is mostly unavailable. So we need to find people who are going to be able to do that, because that's obviously something that kind of has to be a priority. So, but I also think, but I also want to know what other people think need to be priorities and what they have as ideas for, what we can do to actually work on these things.
Now, you mentioned recruitment. Is there, if there's somebody who wants to, do more testing as part of the community, how do they do that?
Well, a lot of it is just, because it's interesting, the number of people I talk to outside of accessibility situations who are like, oh, I was interested in that, but I didn't know how to do it, but they never bothered to come ask either. So that's a lot of it, coming to us and saying, how do I test this? We have things like, it's not that hard to set up Orga and, stick something over your screen so you can't see it for stuff like that. It's not that hard to, just has the thing, non-keyboard use cases by unplugging your keyboard. It's a lot of really basic things that people just. So we've got some documentation on that. Also, we have a link. GNOME has pretty good documentation on just general things that anybody can do, regardless. I think our actual test cases are out of date at this point.
And we need particular recruitment. We need particularly recruitment in people, in terms of people with knowledge of other disabilities.
Yeah.
At the moment, things are heavily skewed with blind and vision impaired cases because we've got so many, developers and users who understand more about that than anything else. So I don't claim to know what.
It's kind of our biggest constituent of users that we can do something to help with.
Yeah.
And it's certainly where accessibility as a whole, in terms of computers, is strongest.
Yeah.
Deaf users, yes, we could do something better with the utterly pathetic visual bell that we've got at the minute, but there's not a lot other than the visual bell.
Most deaf International
video
users.
conferencing was good enough for signing, but that's not really part of our platform,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
an application on top.
And most deaf users I've talked to have not had, they don't particularly,
They just want a computer to use. Like
they just want a computer to use and it doesn't matter because,
Yeah.
and they've had no problems using Linux of
Yeah.
any flavor because,
So our actual biggest, or most huge contingent of users are people who have mild visual impairments, which is people who wear glasses and go to the large print section in the library.
Yeah.
And they're on. And that's people who don't consider their vision to be a disability, they're just short-sighted.
Yeah.
And those are the sort of people who use the Compiz eZoom, the text tracking Zoom, and some of the filters we've got that are negative and mucking around in those areas.
Yeah.
and I think we've got decent representation.
We've got a good story on that with Unity 3D.
Yeah, as soon as we can get the dash.
Yeah, there is the issue that all of the NUX layer doesn't zoom, but we were talking.
Yeah.
I've had conversations this week.
Yeah, well, and there was the whole, that got pretty heavily talked about in the key
Yeah.
session. So I'm less worried about that now. It sounds like it's going to actually get done.
They're looking at preserving the workspace switcher. So when you do the workspace switcher, the launcher won't zoom out, but the rest of the content will. But for other contexts, the NUX layer will be affected by Compiz. So you'll be able to zoom in and get a bigger launcher.
Yeah.
So during the Ubuntu Women session, there was some discussion about having us do some targeted areas of helping Ubuntu. And I think this is testing sounds like a perfect thing to do. So I can make myself available to review some of your docs. If you have some testing docs, then I can tell you what we need. Improvement-wise, for me to be able to help run a session and hopefully but if not, I can take you there and bring it to them and we'll blog about it. Hopefully with some people coming in for testing.
Yeah, and we'll blog about it too. We do have a blog that hasn't been getting updated very much. I'm going to try to fix that this cycle because I can. Do you want to give me an action item to blog monthly? That'll get us something out every month about something. It'll be polite. It won't be any of my rants about.
Is Pendulum your launch?
It's my own chat.
It's also worth noting that, from what I've heard, I think we're going to be having a sort of a forkish/rename// something with the control center. Like we're going to have more of a Ubuntu system settings thing more than our own control center. So we might be able to have, we'll be able to do better things with our accessibility control panel. We actually might be able to link things more to Compiz than we otherwise have now. Like at the moment, if you turn an application on in the GNOME software, accessibility settings in the GNOME control center, it'll enable it for GNOME Shell, but it doesn't do anything for Unity.
We've turned that off for Unity, so that option doesn't exist.
Oh, okay.
The intention is to build our own that
Yeah.
hooks Compiz.
Yeah.
But there is no dead option.
Yeah.
In the software center
Yeah.
when you're in the Unity desktop.
Yeah.
My other.
So we've got some comments on IRC. Read those out. So we've got Next Ramby again saying a lot of developers are not aware of the flat review mode that Orca offers to blind people from navigation by pressing the numlock when Orca is running. Yes, indeed, we've mentioned that. And the pad saying typical issues that blind users report to developers. The screen reader never stops speaking. Never stops speaking the old focus when you switch focus. The endless talking machine issue. That's about interruptibility with speech dispatcher, isn't it? That's
Well, it's, you can shut Orca up. So
yeah.
I don't see the problem there. Like I need more context. I don't quite understand what they're complaining about there.
Also sounds
That-
like
that
it
sounds
may
like
be
a
an
bug.
upstream, not,
Yeah, it's upstream. Yeah.
yeah, not directly about you. Shoot, I had a thought, I just lost it. It's okay. So if we work with Liz and a bunch of women, maybe we'll drag Sherry back in, because she kept trying. We kept trying to get her to do accessibility.
Yeah.
stuff.
So you can give me an action item to create a page, on the bunch of women we need to start getting.
And you and I are talking.
Yeah.
I mean, does anybody else have things they want to bring up? There's nobody here who's on the bug squad, right? I think at this point we need to find someone on the bug squad to liaison with, since our bug squad member is mostly not around anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what happens.
Yeah, so one thing that I did talk to Daniel about last cycle, I don't know whether he did anything with it,
Which
is
Daniel?
a whole lot, is harvest.
But that requires bite-sized bugs, doesn't it? That looks like-
It has a category for bite-sized bugs, but it also has other stuff as well.
Right.
Lost.
Are you looking for bug squad for triage or bug squad for?
Well, we're maybe,
managing bugs?
basically our person who was doing triage, liaising with testing, liaising with release team, has mostly gone MIA for health-related reasons. So, I know Luke does some triage, Alan does some triage, I've done a very little bit. But it would be nice to be able to get some people in so that, I basically get them to understand where the needs are so that we have multiple people looking at these things, because you will get, especially on triage, you'll get, you'll get 3 or 4 different people will triage something anywhere from wish list to high priority, especially it seems on accessibility bugs, because we've seen a whole bunch that,
Is there a global tag for all accessibility?
Yeah, there is. There's
A11Y.
Okay, yeah, I'm using that.
Right, so at the moment, Harvest allows you to pick out bugs, things like bugs with patches or failed to build from source, but it isn't picking out the A11Y tag, and I will take an action to
talk to.
tickle Daniel until he does it.
I guess, because there are plenty of people here who I don't generally see around accessibility stuff, what would you guys be interested in seeing? What would you, out of the team, like, I just lost my train of thought again. It's gone. Sorry.
So what do people want to work on during the next cycle to benefit of accessibility? What do you think the priority should be? Should be involved.
I want to spend a little time doing an automated test system for Unity for accessibility. Put that down for me.
Okay, what's your
I'll work with something. I'm greyback. Because I've already played with it in Python already, I can get the strings out. So I'd like to see if I can integrate it into Autopilot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to write autopilot tests for stuff that I fix in the
Mm.
framework anyway, so.
But I think it should be mandatory that any fix, even with accessibility, should have
Oh,
a
of course.
testing.
Yeah.
Like, they've been doing that with everything else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I'll have to do the same thing, yeah.
Luke, do you know the long bug that Dave Morley did with Software Center, if anything ever happened to that?
I never chased up software center stuff, I must admit, I had my hands full.
Yeah,
so-
I just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what actually. So.
Dave Morley went, because he's been doing automated testing for Software Center, went through and found, I
So
think,
you
pretty,
wrote software center, didn't
No, I thought
no,
it
he's
was
been doing testing.
Gary Lasker and Michael Bond.
Yeah,
you? Okay, right.
but Dave's was doing testing for it, the second, went through and found every single mislabeled item he could come up with. And I don't know if he also tracked things that were just purely inaccessible, because they were what type of WebKit they were, or what. I can't
Yeah, there were
remember.
things you couldn't
But
get.
I mean, this was a massive, massive list of,
There were things where the visual representation didn't match the semantic representation.
Software
Things you
center,
couldn't
yeah.
have to.
yeah.
I'm aware of the project to rewrite the Software Center UI in Qt,
That's not a bad thing.
which
Yeah.
will improve things a lot. A lot of it will be in QML, and
Yeah.
accessibility works reasonably well in QML.
Yeah, that's something that was way behind and then just suddenly jumped ahead.
Yeah, there's a gigantic distro patch. It's been backported and it's 80-something%.
Do you know if we're getting Qt 5 at all to any, like, we'll get it before the LTS, but I'm just wondering when we're gonna get it in an interim release.
Chances are probably not for this cycle because they're expecting a 5.0 release in June, but then
Okay,
in July,
yeah.
then here August is being pushed back.
Yeah.
So probably not for 12.10, but after
Yeah.
that, yeah. We will be using Qt 5, hopefully we'll be getting used to it.
Okay,
this cycle.
I'm thinking of things like the search field, being able to review what
Yeah.
you type in, that's.
We spent 5 days trying to fix that.
Oh, I know, and then this is what brings,
Yeah,
like, just thinking about the software center, we'll be able to get it mostly working, but things, like, little things like that, so.
they're important. Hopefully in Qt 5 there's a distinction where accessibility will work with QML2.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with QML1 unless
Yeah.
we bring this patch forward.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's something we need to be aware of.
yeah.
Because that big patch took work and it will take work to forward put
Yeah.
to Qt 5 again.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
Mm.
So I guess the question is, should we be following up on that software center bug then?
Mm.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that would be another thing. I always forget about that one, but the one with the launcher and dash and so
I
on.
only
that is
remember it because I
on the
had a
platform.
long,
Mhm.
long talk with him at the last UDS about accessibility in Software Center, because it was a big concern for him coming in
Yeah.
doing the testing.
Yeah, I was thinking it was quite an eye-opener for him when I was talking to him when he was actually doing it. He was
Yeah.
like, this is hard.
Do you want to chase that up with him, since you probably talked to him
Yeah.
more than anybody
yeah,
else?
Of course, yeah.
Or we can make Laura book it, but that might not go so well.
Is there ever much feedback with the people who actually design, say, Software Center to say inherently the layout is not good for accessibility?
Well, Dave Morley is inside Canonical, so
Mm.
we expect that to be fed back.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't have an awful lot of visibility of who that is, who we talk to.
Well, I know Gary Lasker's in the past has also been sympathetic to our needs.
Yeah.
We've talked occasionally, I haven't really, as I said, I haven't, software center, I guess I haven't been concerned about it because it's such a big thing, and at the moment a lot of people just end up using Synaptics or Handline.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's a good workaround.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to have it,
of course it would be.
because,
But the part of the Ubuntu platform is a nice software center,
Yeah.
not apt-get install
Yeah.
stuff.
Sounds good.
That's a link to the bug. And that's the big A11Y Orca keyboard only list.
Yeah.
And it does go on a bit. TLDR. Might be another one.
so I remember.
Such
So has that Qt rewrite begun, or is it still in the planning stages?
It's in the source tree and we're working on it right now.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully we'll get a good enough condition that we can use the keys of the GTK for
Yeah.
this site. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Is it still being written in Python, or are you using like all the
Python plus, I think it's PySide.
Okay. I thought PySide was being dropped by Nokia.
I can't remember which one's which. PySide and Py.
It's just that I thought you only had to you could only use QML with C++, so we can use it.
No,
with
you
Python.
can use it with
Okay.
Python. It's worth looking at because
Yeah, okay.
it's working with the Python backend.
I mean, I guess past, what we've come up with here, are there other things people think we should be focusing on this cycle?
Is there still a need for kind of getting started or introduction to how to use Unity with Orca?
I'm going to be producing. I had a work item last cycle to sort of produce some tutorial material in audio / all the other formats. I have installed and used. Still on my agenda. I'm going to try and get that done in the next couple of weeks. What I want to do is produce an audio and a video tutorial on how to install, how to get around the desktop with Orca, and point to other accessibility features that other people with other disabilities might need.
Things like how to use the HUD, the dash.
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think you can do those videos in two ways. One targeted at people who have visual impairments who want to actually use it, maybe blind or not. And another one targeted at sighted people who have no knowledge of.
Well, I'm just going to do the one. This is why I'm doing it as a video, because I'll strip the audio out of it for blind people. And I'll sort of cover.
say different things.
No, I'll say I'll try and do it all in once.
Okay.
I don't want them to do two separate things. Yeah.
Yeah, we can figure that out. And I think there's a need for.
Both use cases are good, especially as we try and get other people involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the other thing I have a question for people who don't have an inherent need for an interest. What would get you looking at accessibility? I mean, we're in open source. We look at, you hear everybody talking about scratch your own itch, and accessibility is something where often the people who really care about it are the people who can't actually do anything about it unless it's working.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting looking, like, the Ubuntu accessibility team, almost all people who have some sort of impairment. Accessibility team is mostly people who don't, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And while, yes, a good portion of them are also getting paid for it, that's not necessarily how they got into it. And so that's one of the things I'm interested in is how do we get people who don't have an immediate stake in, how do we get people interested there? If anybody has any ideas.
I'd say make it personal.
Mm-hmm.
There's an old, so before I worked in open source, I worked in nonprofits. There's an old fundraising trick where you want to raise money for a children's orphanage. Don't do generic fundraising. Like pick a child and talk about what their needs are and how the contribution can help. So maybe find some Ubuntu users who have specific, and say like, this is what they need, and this is how Ubuntu doesn't help them yet.
That's very similar to the objectives of some projects.
Yeah. I mean, I think we also just need to finish that last one
We
and
do
then
need to finish.
and put them all together as an actual.
Yeah, part of that is what my town is constrained over us.
Yeah. But the other side is that there is a difference between a persona and an actual person. But we can certainly look around and see if there are people who are interested in that. That's certainly something I could do as part of the blogging and stuff.
Can we get the news team to do it?
We just do mostly pick stuff off other blogs, right, Liz?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like,
If accessibility blogs about something, you just grab the news channel on.
or I stick it in the, yeah,
I mean, we'll definitely include it in the newsletter.
yeah.
I mean, it says that every one of us, even if we don't have an impairment, we know someone who does, a friend, a relative. And there are many things that are just common, and you can try to anticipate those needs, whether it's macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa, red-green color blindness. I mean, there should be choices beyond just high contrast. There are things where you expand that dynamic range in a way that would benefit them. There's plenty of research.
Yeah, the only way we're going to be able to expand those ranges if we have people who know about it. Like as I said, at the moment we've got a series of accessibility profiles, or we did in the past. Some of them are no longer really presented to the user because we haven't had technical ways of actually doing them. But we can have as many profiles as we want. Of course, we don't want to overwhelm.
Which is why I'm saying look at the fairly common
Yeah.
syndromes. Because you know that there will be demand there, and there'll be appreciation of people say, oh, look, you thought of me.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think we do also just as Alan and Luke have said, we are by far the people who we get feedback from are blind or visually impaired to some level. I think I'm one of maybe 2 people I know of who has motor impairment who actually uses Ubuntu. And I cheat because I use it on a Mac in a VM so that when I need voice recognition software, I can use Dragon. Because there is no open source thing for voice recognition. There's some for voice control, not for like voice recognition in terms of actually dictating tasks.
Trying to think of a practical way I can help here. Like, if someone could pick 2 profiles for me and find 2 people, a bunch of users that you know that sort of fit the profiles, could I write 2 blog posts this cycle about go and interview them and talk to them about their experiences with Ubuntu and what really works well for them and what they struggle with, and kind of make it like
We can do that.
Yeah.
Do you want an action item?
What's that?
Do you want an action item for it? What's your launch pad?
Allison, ALLISOA.
ALLISOA.
It was really funny at the last UDS. One of the programs I use is a program called Dasher, which is an alternate keyboard without actually being a keyboard. And one of the people who used it the last UDS was Matthew Garrett, who's one of the people who wrote it early on. I was the first-hand user he ever met. It was really funny because
People want to know that their stuff is used. One of the things that we discovered last cycle was that in the onboard screen on-screen keyboard, there's a scan code, which is where it moves across the keyboard and then down when you press the button, so you can just operate the thing with just a switch. And we discovered that I think the return key was mapped to E, and it'd been like that forever. So, we knew from that nobody had ever used it, which is a bit sad. We fixed it, but I can definitely see that people knowing that their stuff is used benefits someone is very valuable.
okay, I think
Who's the best person for me to get information from? Or should I just like hop on the accessibility mailing list and ask questions?
it's probably either going to be me or the mailing list or piracy. For those of you who don't know, it's #Ubuntu-accessibility, #Ubuntu-A11Y also redirects. For those of you guys who don't know, A11Y is a shorthand way of saying accessibility.
So there's a few other comments in the IRC channel. Xrambi saying push generic use cases like a vision where you can operate with a new Ubuntu phone using only a touchscreen and headphones. That would attract more users. You do not need accessibility normally. Yes, phones and tablets are definitely a significant new use case for on-screen keyboards. There is the Mail-It keyboard, which may well become more significant in this area, and we've got the onboard keyboard at the moment, which is onboard is a very different type of on-screen keyboard to a lot of phone keyboards, because it is a full keyboard replacement with a tab key and a tilde and a slash and all the rest of it. Mail-It is more of a
Mostly works.
so Sorry?
It mostly works.
Mainly. Yeah, it mostly works, but it's a different approach for a keyboard.
I will also state that sometimes in my own time, I tend to also try and adapt Orca or extend Orca to work with touch interfaces. This actually requires a fair bit of cooperation from the underlying desktop shell, in that we need to let go of any touch gestures it wants to do, because we need to be in control.
That's Dasher.
Wow.
It's a lot, for me, it's a lot faster than a non-screen.
Cool.
That's impressive.
So
It's also kind of like a game.
But yeah, I have plans in my own time to try and start extending Orca to be able to work with the touch screen, so you use your finger to find what you're looking for on the screen and then perform some kind of gesture to activate. But again, it's my own time. I've got the hardware for it. I've just got to get to it.
Okay. Well, we're pretty much out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Sorry.
I would love to see this running on a kiosk in a public place.
So that's Dasher, and it can work in direct mode, so it'll type directly into an application as a
Someday maybe they'll bring back the functionality of
Yeah, that's
getting into direct mode from the GUI, not
That's
from
a
the
little bit
mail,
broken.
yeah.
which apparently it used to have.
So with Dasher, you have to launch it from the command line.
To do direct.
To launch it from the dash Alt F2, I guess. To do dash minus. Anyhow,
Yes, that's your
we are out of time, and we now go and listen to Mark. So
One more
that's
session. There's one more session.
Session.
It's an hour.
Okay, so it's 4 o'clock now. Oh yeah.
It's at 5.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
I forgot.
Thank you.